Xenopsychologist Julia Foster watched the Shinri combat cubs through the observation dome, her stomach tight with unease. 12 feline predators, each barely 6 years old, moved through tactical drills with lethal precision. Every pounce was calculated. Every feint was analyzed. Every interaction served a strategic purpose. Beautiful, efficient, utterly joyless. Subject Reth shows declining performance metrics, noted combat instructor Zarkesh, his striped fur rippling with disapproval. Reaction times lag by 0.3 seconds. Accuracy down 11%. He dishonors his bloodline. Julia focused on Reth, a small cub with golden fur and exhausted eyes. He completed each drill correctly but mechanically, like a machine running on failing power cells. "May I speak with him?" Julia asked. Zarkesh's tail lashed. "Human, we permitted your research only because the coalition insisted. Do not interfere with warrior formation." "I won't interfere. I'll just observe more closely." She found Reth in the recovery bay, staring at nothing. His ears didn't even twitch when she approached. "Hi, Reth. I'm Dr. Foster." "Julia." The cub's eyes focused slowly. "Human researcher. I know. You look tired today." "Shinri do not tire. We adapt or fail." His voice carried the flatness of memorized doctrine. Julia sat carefully. "Can I tell you something? Human children your age sleep 10 hours a night. They spend most of their waking time playing." "Playing?" Confusion rippled through his whiskers. "Training exercises?" "No. Playing. Chasing each other for fun. Building things. Pretending. Making up games with no purpose except enjoyment." Reth's pupils narrowed. "That is wasteful. Every moment should build combat efficiency." "Does it, though?" Julia pulled out her tablet, showing video of human children playing tag in a park. "Watch this." Reth leaned forward despite himself. The children shrieked with laughter, changing direction unpredictably, improvising rules on the fly. One child hid behind a tree, then ambushed another with a delighted shout. "They train," Reth whispered. "They think they're playing. But yes, they're learning spatial awareness, pattern recognition, creative problem solving. Their brains are building neural pathways through joy, not drill." Julia smiled. "We don't play instead of learning. We play as learning. The fun part makes their brains work better. Shinri do not require fun. We require excellence." "And you're excellent," Julia said gently. "But you're also exhausted. Your performance is dropping because you never rest." "Not really. Even your sleep is scheduled for tactical optimization." Reth's ears flattened. "You think I am weak. I think you're burning out. And I think I can help." Over the next week, Julia did something unprecedented. During Reth's assigned rest periods, she introduced play. Real, purposeless, joyful play. First, tag. Simple chasing with one rule. If you're caught, you're it. Reth was confused initially, trying to analyze tactical significance. But Julia just ran, laughing, and eventually Reth chased her. When he caught her, she collapsed dramatically, and something amazing happened. Reth laughed. A small, uncertain sound, like he wasn't sure he was allowed. "See," Julia panted. "No purpose, just fun." Next, hide and seek. Reth's predator instincts made him brilliant at hiding, but Julia introduced a twist, silly hiding spots. She crouched behind a transparent panel, clearly visible, and acted shocked when he found her. Reth's confusion transformed into what Julia recognized as delight. He tried hiding somewhere obvious, and when Julia pretended not to see him, his whole body shook with suppressed laughter. "This is ridiculous," he said, but his tail swished happily. "Exactly," Julia agreed. They played the floor is lava, jumping between furniture. They built elaborate structures from equipment cases just to knock them down. They invented a game where they threw soft objects at targets, keeping score but not caring who won. And something shifted in Reth. His eyes brightened. His movements became more fluid. During actual combat training, his scores started climbing, reaction times improved, accuracy sharpened, strategic thinking became more creative rather than simply following doctrine. Instructor Zarkesh noticed and reported it. Julia was summoned before the War Council of the Shinri. 7 battle-scarred leaders sat in judgment, their amber eyes cold with suspicion. War leader Shexera spoke first. You have corrupted warrior cub Reth with frivolous human weakness. Explain yourself before we terminate your research and ban your species from Shinri space. Julia stood straight. I taught him to play, and it made him a better warrior. Impossible. Play serves no tactical function. Doesn't it? Julia activated her presentation. Reth's combat scores from the past month. Note the improvement curve starting exactly when I introduced play activities. Reaction time up 14%. Strategic improvisation up 28%. Creative problem-solving scores nearly doubled. The council members exchanged glances. Furthermore, Julia continued, human military training incorporates play, war games, simulations. Even our elite special forces use recreational activities to build team cohesion and maintain psychological resilience. Play isn't wasted time, it's cognitive cross-training. Zarkesh snarled. You twist data. The cubs simply adapted to training. Then test it, Julia challenged. Give me 6 of your lowest-performing cubs. Let me introduce structured play into their routines for 30 days. Measure the results against 6 cubs who continue standard training only. War leader Shexera's tail lashed thoughtfully. And when your experiment fails? Then I leave Shinri space and never return. But if it works, you consider adding play to your warrior formation protocols. The council conferred in their clicking language. Finally, Shexera spoke. Agreed. 30 days. But Julia Foster, if you weaken our cubs, you will face combat trial yourself. The next month was the hardest and most rewarding of Julia's career. 6 cubs, all struggling with standard formation, all exhausted and discouraged. She taught them games. Tag variations that built speed and awareness. Hiding games that enhanced stealth. Construction challenges that developed spatial reasoning. Storytelling exercises where they invented scenarios and acted them out. The cubs resisted initially, suspicious of anything without obvious tactical purpose. But children, regardless of species, were drawn to joy, and slowly they began to play. Julia introduced a game she called Chaos Tag. Multiple cubs were it simultaneously. Rules changed randomly mid-game, and the objective shifted without warning. It seemed ridiculous, but it taught adaptability, rapid strategic reassessment, and maintaining effectiveness during unexpected circumstances. Another game, Hunt the Hidden. Cubs took turns hiding objects, leaving cryptic clues, forcing others to think creatively rather than follow doctrine. Their problem-solving skills exploded. Most importantly, Julia taught them that failure in play was safe. When a tower fell, they built another. When someone got tagged out, they jumped back in. Play created a space where mistakes were learning opportunities, not career-ending failures. The control group, 6 cubs under standard training, continued their rigid drilling. They improved incrementally as expected. Julia's play group improved exponentially. On day 30, both groups faced identical combat simulations before the full council. The control cubs performed adequately, following standard tactical doctrine, achieving expected efficiency scores. Then Julia's cubs entered the simulation. They moved differently, fluid, adaptive, creative. When the scenario parameters changed unexpectedly, they improvised instantly. When faced with an unprecedented challenge, they collaborated spontaneously, inventing solutions the simulation designers hadn't anticipated. They didn't just complete the objective. They improvised 3 alternative approaches and executed them simultaneously, confusing the AI opponents completely. Silence filled the observation chamber. War leader Shexera descended to the arena floor, her massive form casting shadow over Julia. The human stood her ground, heart hammering. You have done something impossible, Shexera said slowly. You took our weakest cubs and made them think like humans. Unpredictable, creative, dangerously adaptive. I taught them to play, Julia said simply. Humans aren't naturally better warriors than Shinri. were weaker, slower, less equipped for combat. But we learned that joy and creativity make brains work better. That rest and play aren't weakness, they're strategic advantages. Shexera's whiskers twitched. Play as warfare training. Play as life training, which makes better warriors because they're more than just combat machines. They're thinking, adapting beings who can function in unpredictable circumstances. The war leader looked at Reth, who stood with Julia's experimental group. The cub's eyes were bright, his stance confident but relaxed. He didn't look like a failing warrior anymore. He looked dangerous precisely because he looked happy. Shexera made a decision that would ripple through Shinri culture for generations. From this day, play will be integrated into warrior formation. All cubs will receive structured recreational time. We will study human concepts of joy, rest, and purposeless activity. Her gaze fixed on Julia. And you, Julia Foster, will teach our instructors how to play. 3 months later, Julia watched young Shinri cubs race through an obstacle course she designed. It had no tactical purpose, just platforms to jump, tunnels to explore, and bells to ring. The cubs were shrieking with laughter, their instructors watching with bemused respect. Reth approached, now leading his own combat cohort. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You gave us something we didn't know we were missing." "What's that?" "The knowledge that being strong doesn't mean never being happy. That warriors can be warriors and children. That excellence comes from whole beings, not broken ones." Julia's eyes stung with tears. "That's the most human thing I've ever heard a Shinri say." Reth's tail swished, the Shinri equivalent of a smile. "Perhaps you humans aren't so weak after all. You just weaponized something we never considered, joy itself." And as Julia watched the cubs play, she understood the deepest HFY truth. Humanity didn't conquer the galaxy through superior strength. They conquered it by refusing to sacrifice happiness for efficiency, by insisting that joy was a strategic advantage, and by teaching others that the strongest warriors were those who remembered how to play.